I'm Lydia.
I'm Ed.
We're friends with a playlist for everything. And it turns out we both have one called Survival Songs.
And it got us thinking, what are other people's survival songs?
So we thought we'd find out.
Welcome to Survival Songs,
A podcast where each episode our guest tells us about a song that gets them through the best and worst of times.
sensitive topics might be discussed.
So look after yourself.
The show contains portions of copyrighted material.
We'd love for you to support and celebrate the artists by streaming, downloading and buying their brilliant music. And go give our guests a follow on social media.
Help us grow the community of survival song listeners by joining us over on Substack and add to our public playlist on Spotify. Links are in the show notes.
We hope you enjoy the show. Hi, it's Lydia, and I just had the most beautiful conversation with Simeon Walker, who, as you're about to hear, is a bit of a fanboy for this week's song. Sim is a Leeds-based pianist and composer who's quickly emerged as a leading light in the burgeoning modern classical scene. Regularly performing and touring across the UK and Europe, he's appeared at Latitude and Timber festivals, supported Carey, LYR, Submotion Orchestra, Cowley and Erland Cooper, and received over 40 million streams and listens across platforms, with his music frequently broadcast and featured across a range of BBC output. An in-demand speaker, collaborator, consultant, educator and arranger, he also works as a session musician, working in various recording and live contexts across multiple musical styles and genres. He founded and continues to curate Brudenell Piano Sessions, an established, captivating and eclectic live music series highlighting the diverse music being composed and performed on the piano, hosted at one of the UK's most iconic grassroots music venues, Brudenell Social Club, here in Leeds. This is Sim's song, 22, The Death of All the Romance by The Dears. So that was 22, The Death of All the Romance by The Dears, which is our survival song from Sim Walker. Hi, Sim. How
Hello.
are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
It's really, really nice to be with you in person today. You're my first in-person guest.
I know, it's a real pleasure not to be on the end of a Zoom and here in Ed's basement.
I know, it's the sunniest day we've had of the entire summer so far, and we are all in Ed's soundproofed and blacked out basement. Thank you for making that choice.
I feel like we should go and get like a 4-pack of tinnies and go and sit in the park after this, you know?
Let's do that. But first, I'm going to talk to you about your survival song, which I hadn't heard, and I feel like I say that to a lot of our guests, but that's part of the joy of this, is I'm discovering new music all the time. How did you first meet this song? Where did it find you?
So I came across this band, The Dears, I think it would have been almost exactly 20 years ago. And I was driving along and I think this song came on, not this one, but another one from The Dears from this album, the single from that album called Lost in the Plot. And it was one of those songs where you just have that moment and you just go, whoa, what is that? I just need to know about that. But of course, it's in the days where you're like, you've got to listen for the DJ to say what it is, because you can't find the show notes on BBC Sounds or Shazam it. And yeah, it was just one of those things where I just heard it, I absolutely loved it, and I just dove headlong into kind of finding out about this band and who they were. I was intrigued. They're from Canada, Montreal, and at the time, because I was in higher sixth form year, so I was doing A-level music, getting ready to come to Leeds to study music at university. So I was just sort of such a sponge for musical influences and musical sounds. And I studied piano grade 8, doing all the classical stuff, but then got to about 14, 15 and had sort of my not very rebellious moment where I was like, I want to play guitar, I want to play drums, I want to sing, I want to play Red Hot Chili Peppers, I want to play stereophonics or bands that were supposed to be cool. And then you kind of get to 16 and 17 and you find out things that are actually a little bit more cool. But there was something about this band that kind of brought in these influences of, I guess, like the Smiths and and early Blur and Radiohead and all of these kind of things that were kind of cool and Britpoppy and still very like stuff that people my age at that time were really getting into. But they were from Montreal, and they had this kind of jazz influence as well. And then this song and this album had all these orchestral arrangements, and I was loving all of that. And it just sounded like nothing I'd heard before. It just grabbed me. And so then I went to go and check out the album, and this song is kind of like it's almost like the apex, I think, of the album. It's the 10th track on the album. It really builds and builds and builds towards it, and then just tails off, and it's just an incredible piece of music.
You're totally right. Yeah, it's cinematic is the word that came to mind. It's cinematic. It's almost theatrical, isn't it? The big strings. There's piano in there, which I assume you're a fan of.
Yeah, love the piano.
And I think you're the first person, or at least the first person I remember, who's chosen something with both a male and a female voice. It's like a conversation song. It's the first one like that.
Yeah.
Is that one of the reasons you like it?
So these two people are also, they're one of the reasons why this band in particular drew me to them. I'm a very hard-won fan. So I'm not really a big fan of hardly anyone or anything musically. Not because I'm, well, you've got to impress me, but I like everything. I like so much, and I tend not to give myself to something completely.
Life is short. There's a lot of music.
There's a lot to listen to. There really is. And I am a proper fanboy of these guys. And the two people that you hear are a couple, a married couple. Murray is the lead singer, I guess, and Natalia, his wife, she's the keyboard player. And usually on each album, there's maybe a couple of songs that they either switch around, or she takes a song, or in this instance they have this song which I guess is a duet, but there's something very cool about it, because it's not a duet like Kylie and Jason or Frank Sinatra and whoever
I love that.
else.
That's the first duet that came to mind. Thank you. Thanks for coming. So that was great.
And like the first line is, "I have never cried in anybody's arms the way that I have often cried in yours. Please be the one to take my tears away." She sings that, and then he sings, "I was 22. I've had my share of views. I just can't steal that happiness from you."
I have never cried in anybody's arms the way that I have often cried in yours. Please be the one to take my tears away.
I was 22. I've had my share of views. I just can't take that happiness from you.
And it's just so bleak and so dark, and I guess it kind of hit that point right in my life where I was kind of being moody and being teenagery and whatever. But I found it quite, this conversational aspect, really, really interesting, and the fact that they're doing it together, and they've done this together as a couple, this band. It's been them for, I mean, they formed in 1995, so 30 years of making music together, going on tour. Also, Murray is a black guy, and I, at the time was, getting into, this was 2004, so this is the whole like guitar band revival thing of the early 2000s. So, The Strokes and Franz Ferdinand and Hard-Fi and all this stuff, and then the Arctic Monkeys and everything, kind of the add-on to Britpop. And I think I can't think, apart from Kelly from Block Party, I can't think of another rock band, guitar band where the lead singer, the front man, is a black guy or someone who's non-white, and some of his songs you can really hear the depth of the real pain and stuff that he's had to deal with being a black guy in the music industry and in that part of the music industry, which is perhaps, and I presume, not very, or didn't feel very welcoming, particularly 30 years ago. And I found that really interesting as well, just musically, and them as well as people, to be people that just really grabbed me, as well as the music. And there was so much going on underneath just, oh, this is a cool song, which really got me into it, really.
Yeah, they're the family band doing it differently, aren't they?
They are. And what I found really cool, so when they released their album after this one, which was called Gang of Losers in 2006, they toured it here. I was in uni at that time. Me and my friend went down to the Cockpit, RIP, a music venue in Leeds, and they were playing down there. And I'd never really done the whole fan thing to anyone or any music kind of band at all. So I stood outside the venue, outside the tour bus, and they had their first kid on tour with them at the time, who was like 2 in the tour bus. And I was like, oh, that's a really cool thing that because they're both on tour, so they've just taken the kid, and that's a cool thing. And then their last tour in 2022, that kid is now 18, and they were like, oh, we're here in London, and this kid is 18 now, and we're showing them all of the sites. We're going to Camden Market and all of the cool stuff, and going to see a gig at the garage and all this stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, I've really seen this band through as a fan from that time. And it's also quite an inspiration, because I've just had a kid, and me and my wife and our little boy, they're going to come on tour with me in November as well, because the Deers did, so I'm going to do it.
So the Walkers are doing it
Exactly.
too. Oh, that's fascinating. And I guess you've gone through so many reasons why this is such an important song to you there. I'm interested in what of those reasons makes it your choice for survival songs, because it could be a lyrical aspect, it could be a musical aspect, it could be the Deers themselves and what they showed you was possible. Why have you chosen it for this context?
Well, for a start, this is the 20th anniversary year. They're going to do a show in London at the Village Underground in December. I think it's this aspect of fandom. They're the only band I've ever been so geeky about, so fandom about. I've got everything, and I've seen it through. I just really like what they do. I like what they say. I like what their approach is. And in relation to this song specifically, this is the kind of song where I am able to enjoy it in a live setting. I've seen them about 4 or 5 times, and just forget myself a bit, and do the whole, I'm singing along at the top of my voice, I've got my hands in the air, I've got my eyes closed, I'm being a fan, and I'm not embarrassed about that, because I absolutely love it. And I literally don't do that for anything or anyone apart from these guys. I don't always listen to words and lyrics, because I'm more of
You're a musician.
And I'm like hearing all the strings. And it builds, it drives up to this incredible 2-minute epic outro where it just keeps on going, and you're like, oh, there can't be another 16 bars of this. And then there is. And also it's a really special thing, because my friend Giles, who basically I was at uni with, and we kind of became, he kind of became a sort of my second in command as like Deers super fanboy. And it's just something that the two of us just share very, very
You found each other
in a special kind of way,
My last question is always, Sim, where do people follow you and find out what you're up to?
Mm-hmm. So I'm a musician. I'm making my own music, piano-based music mostly, and you can find that in all the places. Simeon Walker, because I use my posh name.
Full name for music.
For music. SimeonWalker.co.uk, and I'm on all of the places where, I try to tell people about what's going on.
And if you have an opportunity to see Sim play live, you absolutely should go and see it, because it was a delight the couple of times I've seen you play live.
Thank you.
You stop time, you stop a room, you really do.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time, Sim. This
Thanks.
has been a delight.
Pleasure.
We really hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to support the podcast further, you can choose to upgrade your subscription on Substack. But most of all, we'd just love it if you told your friends about what we're up to. Thanks for listening.